WV Uncommon Place. This podcast is a variety podcast that houses numerous series to cover mental health, empowerment, podcast framework, and various intimate theories to get to know the hosts. Along with occasional movies reviews and dives in pop culture with our event podcast episodes. The Uncommon Place digs into bringing guests on that stories don't fit the mold and are very different. WV stands for the great state of West Virginia, and every quarter we cover something in West Virginia. Stacey and myself, JR, are your hosts, so please come along for this venture to our Uncommon Place.
All right, we're here at Podfest. We have a guest with us. He is a saxophone player. He does a lot on TikTok. TikTok is ridiculous, like 200,000 people. I'm going to pass that over to him real quick. Please introduce yourself to the audience.
I'm Tom Shea. On socials, you can find me at Shea Sax. Been playing saxophone for 20 years, doing TikTok and social media for, 3 to 8. I guess social media a lot longer than TikTok, but
Okay, so let's get started real quick with the most amazing question that we can ask you. What got you started in music?
Okay, so I was 10 years old. I had an elementary school music program, which is unusual. Not enough schools have them, but they should. And my options were, anything. I could play any instrument, but I wanted to play clarinet. My dad played clarinet, I saw him doing it. I always wanted to do it. So I put down clarinet as my first choice. And then, 5 other kids wanted to play clarinet. And this is a band of 20 people, so that wasn't going to fly. So I was the only one who had a second choice. And my second choice was saxophone, because that was the other instrument my dad used to play. And it wasn't even I didn't want to play saxophone. I put it there as a second choice. The only one who had a second choice, so I got the saxophone. Best second choice of my life.
Okay. All right. So you get the saxophone. You got to put a reed on it. You have to learn how to clean it and everything. What was the first mishap you had with your saxophone?
Especially as a kid, reeds are fragile. It is a small, thin piece of wood, and it sticks on the tip of your instrument. So if someone walks by and they catch it, your reed's broken. So that over and over again. I didn't really break a saxophone until I was 25. And so really, we have the reed breaks that happened all through life. But the first real mishap was when I was about 25. I'm leaving a gig, and I was using a case I don't usually use. I pull my saxophone off the table. Case is not latched.
Ooh.
Yeah, it tumbled 3 feet right to the ground. That saxophone was totaled.
Oh, Lord.
And that case, I hate it. And it went straight to the trash. Most cases have extra hinges or something. So even if something bad happens, your saxophone is caught by the case while it's falling. This was just straight to the ground.
So were you able to still perform?
Wonderfully, that happened after the performance. And that was my backup saxophone. The whole reason that saxophone was with me was so when I did something stupid at a live event, I wouldn't destroy the priceless one.
Okay.
So
now you're here at Podfest. You're an influencer. You're a big name. I mean, your TikTok speaks for itself.
Thank you, man.
We actually met yesterday, and I started going over things last night. I had probably a few hours. I looked over things, and I was amazed that you're following on TikTok. How did you come about doing this? Now, understand this. This is the hidden gem in the episode, because we have content creators that listen, and then we have just our random listeners. So right here, give them the gold. How did this start, and how did that come about being as big as you are on TikTok?
Well, so I had a friend, Dominic Detana. He was on TikTok before me. He was on TikTok when it was Musical.ly. He was the guy who was testing every social media app out there, and he was, trying to work it and seeing what was good. And he would tell me about TikTok. He was telling me about TikTok for a year or two. And then one day, the text says, "I quit my job. I'm just doing TikTok now." And I immediately called him and was like, What? you quit your job? How's that even work? And, he was just like, go and post videos. And he encouraged me to post anything. My first videos were not as curated as the stuff that you saw at the top of my feed. My first viral video was me grooming my face, shaving my beard, cutting the lines there, putting in some oil, some shea butter, of course, Tom Shea, that's how you gotta do it. But shea butter and a little hair dryer combing, that got 80,000 views, and that was my first big video. Before that, I was posting anything and everything about my life. and that was included. The shaving was just like, hey, I'm going to set up a camera and try editing. It was all just fun and practicing. This was like 2019, pre-pandemic days. No one was on the platform. It was me and a bunch of like teenagers, really. And it was really cool when something random blew up, and then pretty soon all these people are like asking me beard care questions, which was not my expertise, but I was, I had a beard, so I could answer them, and it was really cool. And it was my first taste of that community where there was so much more engagement and so many more people just like, I want to talk to you. And especially in the early days of TikTok, it didn't feel like but people didn't feel like numbers. People were real, and there was so much interaction between all of us, both the creators and people watching and other creators, and I don't know, it was a real interesting place of community early TikTok.
All right, so was it kind of like that MySpace feel in the very beginning? Because I don't know if you were on MySpace or not, but MySpace and Facebook in the very beginning, it was just about people. It wasn't
that early social media, for sure.
So give a little advice to some people that want to get big on TikTok. What is the formula that you use to be successful? Don't give it all away, because you can put it in a course and make money with it.
They can have it. So, I mean, the biggest thing, number one, is persistence. I know it's an annoying thing to hear. I'm sure I'm not the first person to say it. But I posted every day multiple times for 3 to 4 years. And in the beginning, that was low effort content, and then that content became higher level content. When I started moving to doing exclusively music, it became a lot of work, and it is a lot of work. And that's something you just need to get in your head from the beginning, is that everyone I know who's doing this, they are not lucking into it. They are working their ass off. And that's what I did. And I was lucky enough that I got a period to work my ass off when there was a pandemic. Because as a professional musician, as you can imagine, I suddenly found myself without a job at all. And I found myself with, at that point, I don't know, maybe like 10,000 TikTok followers. The beard video had gone viral and other stuff. And I decided, let's just do everything I want to do, anything that I want to show anybody, any idea I have is now a video, and I'm putting it up there. And you don't think you do, you don't worry about how your friends on Instagram are going to look at it. You don't worry about the people in the real world. You have to separate it and start selling yourself as an influencer, and viewing yourself that way. And that's its own step. It's internal work,
Okay. Now, Tom, let me ask you this. All right, so you play the saxophone. Have you ever created your own composition?
Yes. So I have actually, TikTok was what made this happen. So some of my first music stuff to go viral was me playing over lo-fi tunes, which I was basically just getting into lo-fi myself and going, hey, there is no melody in this music. It is just an open chord structure ready to go. And I'm like, I'm just going to bring out my saxophone and noodle over this on a live stream. So I did that. And it was like the best live stream I ever had. And I was like, I just had so much fun. These people just had so much fun. So then I started tailoring some of my posts to that. And I started making posts that were recording other people's lo-fi music. And they were doing really great. So I decided, hey, I know how to record. I know music theory. What's stopping me? I started working on my own composition, and about a year later, I released my first single, and then I followed that with an LP and 2 EPs.
Okay, can you go into detail about those so that the audience can know where can they find this music right now?
Yeah, if you go on Spotify and look up Tom Shea, you'll find it. Go on Apple Music, all of them. Just a tip: if you're a creator, DistroKid is amazing. It'll get your music everywhere. You click a check mark, and it's on every platform. So if you look up Tom Shea, you will find me. I've got, let's see, my most recent one is called Tupperware Tom. And I know it's an odd name, and I'm actually not Tupperware Tom. Tupperware Tom is my grandfather. My grandfather passed away a year ago. No, it's 2 years ago now, but of a really rapid brain disease, and one that genetically possibly I can have. It's a scary thing, It was a scary thing to watch happen. I'm named after him. He was a towering figure in my life. But this really funny thing happened. The way we celebrated his ashes is we went on this rafting trip that we did every year, and we brought Grandpa Tom's ashes with us. And in the most ridiculous thing and very emblematic of how my family does things, my grandpa's ashes were sitting in Tupperware. And Grandpa would have loved that. That's what I have to say. That was not disrespectful at all. Grandpa would have loved being in Tupperware on a rafting trip. And that's when I started joking around with my uncle's Tupperware Tom. And they were like, hey, maybe don't make that joke around Grandma, but that's hilarious. And before I knew it, I was like, that's what I want to name this EP. That's what I want to name this EP.
So
it's after my grandpa. I recorded all 5 of the songs inside his barn in Montana over a period of 6 days.
Whoa.
So I just set up in a barn, no air conditioning. Surprisingly, a barn is a beautiful audio environment. You wouldn't think about it, but it's all wood. It's huge. It's spacious. The angles aren't right angles, so you don't have bad reflections. It's like a ready-to-go studio.
Ooh, we might have to use ours.
Oh, yeah, you guys are from West Virginia. Of course. You guys got barns on tap. Yeah. No, like I said, I recorded in this barn, and then I got home and started mixing it, and I got angry at the way my studio at home sounds. So now I guess I got to do all my recording in Montana in Grandpa's barn.
Yeah, because I've never thought about that, so that would be something wild. Now, you do other things. We had an interesting conversation about weddings.
Yes.
Please tell the audience about what you do at the weddings, the song that you're asked to perform prominently, and how they can book you, because that's the key thing too. When we do a show, we want to do a shameless plug to get you out there to people too.
Yeah. So I do weddings a lot. I mean, next weekend I'll be doing 2 weddings. I do them all over the state of Florida mostly, but I'll travel anywhere. I play with a 12-piece wedding group. They're called Synergy, CNERGY. We're bilingual, bilingual. I'm not, as you can tell. But we do Spanish language songs, English language songs, and rap, sing. There's not a genre my band doesn't do, which is really cool in an event and fun as a performer to get that stretch and that break when they play country songs.
All right, so let me ask you, so we could get some Mighty Mighty Boss tones out of you, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. You could definitely make it happen. I mean, I'm a horn player. You can get mighty, mighty boss tones out of any of us if you try.
Now, going forward, so how do people book you? How do they get in touch with you to get you?
If you hit any of my socials and contact me directly, I've got my contacts there where you can reach out to me, and then I would get you in contact with Synergy, or I work with other groups, got a ska band that I work with, all sorts of groups, and, everyone's always looking for gigs. So if you want to find me, go to Shea Sax anywhere and just click that link tree. You'll see my contact.
All right, and for the listeners that have to have everything spelled out for them, can you spell out that for them, please?
Oh, yeah. Actually, that's important because there's a lot of different ways Shea happens. I'm SHEA-SAX. So like Shea Stadium, even though I think they plowed that down 10 years ago now. It's showing my age.
Yeah, the old New York Mets. Now, going forward, what does the future hold for you?
So for me, I'm trying to get into more touring gigs. I just did a one-off date in DC with Ska Tune Network. It was the best gig of my life. It was in front of 3,000 people who were excited to hear the music that my friend makes, and I got to play. So being in front of audiences that aren't there to hear you play an event, who are there to hear you as an artist, is the step. It's the goal. Is what we all want as artists, but it takes a long time to get there, and baby steps. But hopefully in 10 years when we do this again, I'll be able to say I've been on the road for the last 5.
And we'll make sure we definitely do it in West Virginia because
we'll get the barn sessions.
So look, funny thing that we always tie into the audience, we bring in something about West Virginia. We have something common in West Virginia. We find our women in West Virginia. So that was one thing to all my West Virginians. Now, in Tom's effect, that made him have an ex, correct?
Yes.
And I'm still with Stacy, so everything worked out for me. So, Tom, not to dig into your ex or anything, but she's from West Virginia. And then we figured out the city was Huntington.
Well, no, her brother wasn't hunting. I was trying to figure out the name of it, and now if she ever listens to this, she's going to be like, wow, what an asshole. But I've forgotten the name of the town. It's not a big one.
Right. So somewhere in West Virginia, we got 55 counties for 1.8 million people. Mm-hmm. The size of Orlando's metropolitan area on one side.
It's crazy.
Which is a crazy thing. So going further out, Tom, before we jump off here, this is what I need you to do. All right, you've become very personable with us.
Mm-hmm.
We met you yesterday or whatever. We pay homage to 2020. It was a news magazine. It had Barbara Walters. It had John Stossel had Diane Sawyer. John Stossel was comedian. Diane Sawyer had really serious interviews, but Barbara Walters, she could change the scope of how people feel about you and things like that. So first off, let's do our John Stossel question, and this is just a funny question. All right, so being an artist, a content creator, an influencer, all these extra titles, what is your favorite title that you have?
Musician. It always has been. That's the thing. Even as a saxophonist, I'm not a saxophonist. You'll see me whistling down the hallway. The music runs in our head. What we do to get it out is always the tool. But musician first. And that goes with influencer too. That's just my tool to get the music out.
Okay. All right. So promotion is the hardest thing for everybody. Marketing is the hardest thing for everybody. What made you feel like TikTok would be the best marketing tool throughout the pandemic up until this point today?
Well, first, there was my buddy Dominic, the guy who quit his job. So there was already the example of this can work. I can see it working in my friend's life. So that was a big positive influence. And he's always been there to be, like, if I'm discouraged, he goes, Tom, here you go. He pushes me forward. He always pushes me forward. So there's that. I had that great example in my life. The second thing is just the results I saw myself. You cannot deny results. You go onto certain platforms and you put in effort and you don't see them. And I can't say this is going to happen for everybody. But even when I was posting and had no following, I was getting better engagement than on other social media apps, and it felt good, and it felt like that community was developing. And that sense of I don't feel like I'm shouting into the void. I feel like I'm shouting at those 5 people who are going, yeah, that's a big difference. And that's what TikTok was certainly doing in 2019, and I think still does to this day at some level.
Okay. Now, here goes one of our serious questions. As a creator, you have to find time for yourself. And the thing about being creative, you take all your imaginative energy and you have to put it into your music. You have to put it into each facet of what you're doing. So from pre-production to production to post-production. How do you handle that stress?
I don't well. If I'm being honest here, I think I wouldn't be the first creator to said there was a mental crisis at some point. Yeah, we'll give a pause while the bags are being done behind us. He's literally taking a bag.
So real quick, audience, this is a funny thing. We're sitting actually inside of a hotel lobby. This is normally a place that someone would meet to do a drug deal or whatever type of nefarious activities that they would do. We're just sitting in a little corner. Stacy's our sound quality person, and me and Tom are just going back and forth with the mic. She keeps pushing me up to the mic. She's like, stay right there.
Yep.
She's like security for the microphone. But either way, getting back to what
the question. Now our bag is gone finally.
Yeah.
It's not all. He's still got his hands on it though.
Yeah.
I'm like, is he gonna pull it back out and do it again?
Right. Okay. It's a lot of a commitment to that bag. I mean, I'm just watching him right now.
He's going. This man demands perfection out of his job, and he has gotten it.
And it's like a trash can inside of is it inside of something else?
It's a fancy trash can. You'd never want to know that it's actually a trash can. This is a hotel lobby. There's no trash here.
All right, so going on.
Where were we?
Yeah, so we covered the part about stress inside of production, all that stuff. So when you get to the finished product, this is the hardest thing. When you're done with that product, you're about to pass it on to whoever publishes it, or if you just self-publish. What does that emptiness feel like? That's something I don't understand, because I'll give you a little spiel real quick. When I recorded this episode, we're recording together. She listens to it. It goes to artificial intelligence, and then next thing you know, it's done. Yeah. So what does that void feel like? So for me, there definitely that void is something you have to fill with promotion. That is when you have to go, this is the art that I did put all this effort into, and now I need to tell people about it, because if you don't tell people about it, that's where the void comes from. The emptiness that was left from your busyness can be filled with people going, oh, this is so cool that you made this album, and it's never easy to promote. It's never easy to take the thing that you've done and say, look at the thing I've done. Everyone look at me. It's not an easy task, even for a performer. We've been kind of taught all of our lives, don't just go draw attention to yourself. Don't be the one going, look at me. And now it's your job to go, look at me. So there's an internal conflict in a lot of us there. I don't know how I got over it.
but I did. I mean, part of it is having encouraging friends who go, hey, look at you. You know, they're like, hey, man, you are awesome. You should let other people know that. You know, and that's really how you get over that that internal little thing, because it's hard to put out your own work. It is. It's hard to then wait and go, what are the reactions going to be? But if you go out there and speak about it, if you go out there and actually, like, don't just drop it out there and be like, please look at my album, be like, I like my album, you know. You have to believe in your own work, and that's not always easy. Once again, we all have our pitfalls on there, but the ups and downs, they keep on going up eventually, you know.
Okay, now my final question inside these 2020 questions, and this is like the hardest question. Being your own critic, I have to sometimes sit back and be like, hey, is this something that someone else would want to listen to? Is this something of quality or value? What merit am I bringing to the table by bringing this person on the show to find out this about them or that about them? So with you, the self-criticism, not the criticism of other people, because we can take that with a grain of salt. We can manufacture that into anything. That we can make a new song. You can make a new song out of that criticism. But your own the self-critic that we are.
Yeah.
How do you handle that critic?
I mean, that critic has always been very strong in me. Very strong. And it's been a battle for a long time. And I think for me, it became, actually, I have to believe the people who are telling me things, not myself. My internal critic is very harsh, very, very harsh. I had to believe the people in my comment section who said, Tom, you're awesome, because my internal critic wanted to fight against that. So when I decided to start listening to other people instead of my own internal dialogue, it was a game changer. So, you know, obviously I had the luxury at that time of a bunch of people cheering me on TikTok, which was cool. It was incredible. But it's always a struggle with your internal dialogue. I've done therapy for that stuff, you know. It's always going to be a battle. I think for most artists, the nature of the people who choose to do this usually are self-critical. And sometimes, here's another interesting tool I've used in the past. Even if my internal critic is so loud that it's saying, I don't like what you just did, what if this isn't for me? What if this art is not for me? There are other people in this world who are not me, who appreciate things I do that I don't love. You know, like, I could play Careless Whisper. People will lose their mind. That doesn't mean I want to listen to me play Careless Whisper all day, but the fact is other people do, and you need to listen to them, and you need to pay attention to that. You can't get so caught up in the own direction of your own artwork where you think that your internal dialogue is right. You have to pay attention to the world and its feedback.
Okay, and I like that. Now, I'm going to give you a phrase in this part of the 2020. My phrase is, comparison destroys personality. Comparison, you finish it. And the reason I say that it destroys personality is because when you do a comparison of you to another saxophone player, you to any other person that's a musician, you defeat your personality.
Yeah.
In this instance, because you're trying to conform to what they are and how they're doing things. So that's my phrase with comparison, because I don't like comparison. I like people to say that comparison is a thief or whatever they say that. But what is your comparison? What goes with your statement with comparison?
You have to think about it for a second. I mean, in my world,
it's a hard one.
Yeah, comparison has no value. That's what I would say. It has no value to you. If you're sitting and comparing yourself to someone, what you should be doing is admiring them. You shouldn't be putting yourself next to them in a competition. You should acknowledge that what you're doing is saying how amazing they are. And when you're comparing yourself, what you're doing is you're just shitting on yourself. You're putting yourself down. You are saying, that's what the comparison is about. Admiration is the ability to go, I think you're amazing, and that has nothing to do with me and does not affect me, and that's how it should be. And comparison is like the doppelganger or something, you know, where you are you're admiring them at your own cost. And at the end of the day, it'll hurt you. There's lots of saxophone players I admire, and at a time where I was comparing myself to them, I didn't feel very good about myself.
Okay. Now, the last question that I'm going to ask you before we end this. There's a billboard. This billboard is located across the United States, and we'll just do cities. And you've been across the U.S. So we'll go New York City for one billboard. Mm-hmm. And we have to throw in Ohio because they're our biggest listening base. Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus, Ohio. Never been, but hope to someday.
Montana, you've been there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know any cities in Montana except Helena, so...
We'll do Helena then.
All right, Helena. And then we'll do Los Angeles because it makes sense.
Yep.
What does your billboard say in each place? And to help you out, let's go with New York first.
New York. Now, if I had a billboard in New York, I don't think it would say anything on the. I think it would be purely image based, and it would be a saxophone silhouette. You know, all you need to tell people there is there's a saxophone happening. There's enough people walking by that if they're interested, they'll take the next step.
Okay.
All right, we'll go to Ohio next. Yeah. A larger city, but it's not the mega metropolis that is New York City.
Right.
I'd give them a little bit more detail. Maybe give them a place to go. Actually say what I am with some words, but the same kind of idea, face forward. Here's Tom Shea. Think a picture of Kenny G on a billboard, with, Tom Shea. Let's say there's performance going on. That's what I can imagine an Ohio billboard.
Okay, I can see that.
Uh-huh.
Now, what about Montana?
Montana, well, first of all, it's not going to be printed. It's going to be, those letters that you have to kind of curve to stick them on signs. You swap.
Yeah.
They're on outside of churches and old convenience stores. That's what it's going to be on. It's going to be outside of a small bar. The bar is a log cabin, and it's going to say, Tom Shea 6 to 9, and that's all it's going to say. Probably there will be a drink special listed underneath it.
And I can see that now. Los Angeles.
I think for Los Angeles, we got to go the complete opposite direction. From New York, I had the matte silhouette. Los Angeles is all about being loud. Think, neon colors.
Light.
Like
neon light.
You got the oranges, you got the yellows, you got Tom Shea written like it's the 80s,
Okay. With hair, you have a white suit on with doves flying by.
Yeah. We gotta do the hair.
and a white Trans Am in the background.
That's beautiful right there.
Okay.
I like it.
Now, Tom, I want to thank you for coming on West Virginia Uncommonplace. The last thing that I would like you to do is give a shout out to any and everyone that has helped you along the way, because all of us, we do it on our own in certain areas, but we do need that fandom from someone. We need someone that tells us sometimes that we're doing all right, we're doing good.
All right.
And one more time before we do that, give one more plug where everybody can meet and greet you and how they can book you for shows.
Okay, the best way to find me is probably go on Instagram or TikTok and look up Shea Sax, SHEASAX, and you go to my link tree from there. You can get my contacts for booking. And now to thank everyone, we got Dominic Datana. He's the guy who dragged me into this, is the truth of it. And I couldn't be more thankful. We started in a band in college, and we're at this festival here together. So, it is a long-term, someone pushing me towards music to do it. And of course, my family, my mom and my dad have been extremely supportive to me, and both with being a musician and trying to turn that into being an influencer, because there are many pitfalls, many speed bumps there where you're like, hey, rent this month, It's really important to have supportive family at that level. And without that, I don't think I could be doing this.
Okay. And I agree with that wholeheartedly, because sometimes, like you said about that rent, when you're following your passion and your passion becomes your business, and hobbyists, I'm not talking disrespectful to anyone that does anything for a hobby, but when you want to turn that corner and you want this to be your life, sometimes there are sacrifices, and we need family members, friends, whoever to help us. So most definitely thank you for that. So once again, I am JR from West Virginia Uncommonplace. Stacy's on quality control and audio, so she's not actually part of this interview, but she is part of this interview, so I want to thank her for sound checking for us on this episode. And we are in a loud hallway, so guys, that I will be using Podcastle, which is our great technology that uses artificial intelligence, pulls background noises, white noises, and auto levels and everything like that. It takes the actual audio engineer out of doing the work, which audio engineers are still important, but on a podcast level, for something simple, it's just audio.
Their time is limited. Yeah. I love them, though.
So once again, I'm JR from West Virginia Uncommonplace, and I've had Tom Shea on the show. We are out.
Please follow WV Uncommonplace on Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, TikTok, where we have some great content, Facebook, LinkedIn. Hit up the merch store at oncommonplace.square.site. Join the email list from the website, and rate, subscribe, and give feedback from your favorite podcatcher. And lastly, thanks for listening, and tune into the next episode.